Hi, guys. How are you? Good. I'm good. Thank you. So, we wanted to welcome you guys here. I'm sure you noticed that we have a bunch of mics and cameras. We also want to take a second and welcome all the folks who are like chiming in across the nation. So, there's a bunch of schools who are out there who are like webcasting this, and all the girls there are going to be doing the activities with us too. And there might be somebody coming up with questions from like New York or wherever. So, yeah, that's what this is. And then if you want to be on camera, that's when we'll point the mic at you, that kind of thing. But if you don't, just let us know and we'll work with that too. But yeah, thank you for being here in the first place. We're super excited to see you guys. Do you guys know why you're here? Did you just get a permission slip and you're just like, all right, cool kind of thing? Yeah. Okay, so we're here to talk about, yeah, vaginal and menstrual health, right? So how many of you usually talk about that kind of stuff with friends? Just a raise of hands. Couple of you. How many of you talk about that with family members? Couple of you. Hi, ladies. Um, how many of you think that there's a whole bunch of silence and mystery around this stuff? That it's kind of like on the hush hush, right? We don't really we don't go around saying, "Hey, my vagina feels great today," right? Totally. That's super weird. So what Girls for a Change and You by Kotex are here to do is kind of open up this conversation so that it's more comfortable, so that there's less mystery, so that there's less silence, so that there's less shame around these kind of things, so that we can empower ourselves and then go out and empower our community, um, and kind of get in the know. Rena, you want to introduce yourself?
Oh, hey everyone. So we have some people trickling in. We're going to let them come on in, find some seats. But my name is Rena Stone. I'm originally from Oakland, so not too far away from here, but far if you got to catch the BART. But I live in Nashville, Tennessee. I'm a graduating senior from Fisk University, studying English and Women and Gender Studies, and I'm happy to be here talking about vaginas, and happy to be with all you guys,
You're
educating
like,
you guys about vaginas. You guys are going to hear the word vagina a lot today, so just get used to the word vagina, all right?
Um, yeah, what she said. But my name's Amreen. I am originally from Fremont, which is East Bay, end of the BART line kind of thing. But I moved away from there maybe about 10, 15 years ago, and I went to college in San Diego and currently live in Los Angeles. And I'm a middle school science teacher in Los Angeles. So I'm really happy to be back up in the Bay. I'm really happy to see people wearing Niners shirts. That makes my heart smile because it's all Raider Nation in LA. So it's good to be here, and I get to go see my family later today, too.
Good morning, ladies. It's really nice to meet you all. I'm excited to talk to you today. My name is Vanessa Schick. I am from New Jersey. I now live in Indiana. This is my second time in San Francisco, and I'm loving it. It's really beautiful here. I am a teacher, a researcher, and I wrote a book about, you can probably guess. Can anyone guess what the book's about? Vaginas, there you go. We started saying it already. So yes, I wrote a book about vaginas, but every time I get to come to one of these workshops, I learn new things from you guys. So I'm excited to learn new things from you guys, and hopefully you'll also learn some stuff from us.
So just a really quick overview of what we're going to do today. Just a real quick warm-up right after this and kind of get to know you thing. We're going to talk a little bit about our organization as well, where we're from, what we're about, and then get into some code words and start brainstorming code words and talk about the importance of the way we use our words, and then talk about kind of some myths that are floating around there about our vaginas, about menstrual cycles and things like that, and really kind of figure out, are they true, are they not true, and really give you guys some real powerful information. And then from there, talk about how we can use some of this information and take care of our bodies, because when we're there for our bodies, then we can take care of other people too, and use that knowledge. And how do we use that knowledge to go out and create change in your family, in your school, anything like that. And then it's going to be fun too. You're not just going to be sitting down the whole time. You'll be getting up, doing some activities. There'll be music. We're not going to talk at you the whole time because that would be really boring. So yeah, and then that's it. And we'll feed you afterwards. Oh, the Yes Game.
Oh, it's not next. This is next, and then the Yes Game.
Okay.
So we're with a company called Girls for Change, and Girls for Change is a nonprofit organization. Anybody know what a nonprofit organization is? Yeah, you don't get money. Basically, that's good. And they empower women and young girls to create social change and be social change agents. So they enable them with the resources and tools that provide them the voice and the courage enough to create and generate change.
So this is the Yes Game.
Okay, so we're gonna play the Yes Game. Basically, the Yes Game is anything I say, you have to say yes to. Simple enough? Yes. Okay, so we're gonna get just a warm up. Is my name Rena? Yes. Is your name Rena? No. Okay, so you're not playing correctly. All right, so let's try this again. When I say I or me or my, I also mean you, she, her, because we're all the same person, okay? So my favorite color is orange. Yes. My birthday is in December. Yes. Yes.
Sagittarius?
Yes. We are in California. Yes. It is raining outside. Yes. My panties are blue. Yes.
Did you just say your panties are blue?
My panties are blue. Yes. I love my vagina. Yes. I have a vagina. Yes. I worship my vagina. Yes. Okay.
Beautiful. Thank you guys for participating in that. So yeah, we're gonna be talking about vaginas a whole bunch in here. But the reason we're doing this is because about a year ago, do you guys know what Kotex is? What is You're still playing the Yes Game. What can anybody tell me what Kotex is? Exactly, right? They make tampons, they make pads, they make a whole bunch of like feminine hygiene. And so Kotex about a year ago did a study, and what they found was that 50%, more than 50% of women got their information from social media or from media in general. So this stuff, I mean, when you guys raised your hand, you were kind of just like, oh, I kind of talk about this with friends. I kind of talk about this with family. Where do you guys go if you have a question about this stuff? What do you do if you're just like, I don't know if this is supposed to be happening with me? You go, doctor, clinic, mom, friends. Nobody goes to Google? Really? You guys are amazing. So you guys actually, and this is why I see, this is the Bay. Everybody's cool with this stuff here, right? So every other city we've been to, people are just like, it's so hush-hush. And I forget that about the Bay. Like, there's a lot of beautiful conversations that happen here. But so what Kotex found is that more than 50% of women all around the country use Google or use social media or use those kind of things or use family too. And like, family's not always a doctor, right? Family could also give you misinformation. And then they found that a lot of this misinformation kind of is hard to separate. Like, we don't know if it's true or if it's false. Or how many of you guys have heard of blue waffle before? Yeah. Right?
Ew.
Is it true? Yeah. It is? True?
The blue waffle is true?
Is it true?
No.
No. But that's the thing, is like, it's put out there, there's pictures, it's Photoshop, it looks real, right? All this information's out there, and it's really hard to separate what's true and what's false. And so what we're here to do is that we found that, like, when we educate folks and we can educate community members, 9 out of 10 young women will feel much more empowered, will feel much more empowered about their bodies, their voices, their actions, their ways of being. And then you guys can take this knowledge. How many of you have little sisters? Little nieces, little cousins, right? So you can take this knowledge out to your families or to your community so that they don't have to deal with some of the stuff that you guys had to deal with. So we partnered with You by Kotex to kind of create this new generation of folks, which is you, a generation of people who are kind of like in the know about their menstrual health, about their vaginal health. And we wanted to call this something self-full, which is the opposite of selfish. Can anybody tell me what selfish is? Or crickets. Greedy. Beautiful. What else? Conceited. Thank you. Think about selfish. Has anybody ever here been called selfish? Anybody ever called anybody else selfish? Is it a real positive word? It really isn't, right? But technically what selfish means is somebody who takes care of themselves, right? They're always looking out for themselves, right? Somebody who's always doing them and just not really minding about other people but taking care of themselves before other people. Is it important to do that? It is, right? And so we want to switch that framework around the word selfish and say, you know what? Okay. It's real important to talk about ourselves and our bodies and to take care of ourselves. And so if you're calling me selfish, sometimes I do need to take care of myself. Sometimes I have to take that time so that I can go out and be better for other people. And so we want to call that self-full so that we can take care of ourselves and then go out into our communities.
So Girls for Change and You by Kotex have partnered up and they start doing these generation getting to know tours, right? And they've been doing this for 3 years, since 2010. And every year there's 10 cities. So this year alone, we've been to Miami, and then she went to New York and Connecticut. And I met back up with her in Chicago. And then after Chicago was Atlanta. But no, before Atlanta was Vancouver and Toronto and Colorado Springs and Atlanta, and now we're here. And next will be Los Angeles, and that's our 10-city tour. And so we're happy to be in San Francisco, like she said earlier. And we're happy that you're a part of our tour and getting to know and becoming a part of this new generation who's going to create and generate change around this topic.
So, rules, schmools. And this is a small group, so this is like not even really necessary. But just thinking about ways of being together, I know like sometimes, and we were talking about middle schoolers back there earlier. Who was I talking to about middle schoolers with? You guys, right? Middle schoolers tend to be real mean to each other, and they would like kind of cap on each other or hate on each other. We're hoping that we can really use this to create a real positive and loving and kind environment. So like just thinking about when folks have questions, if they ask a question, just kind of being like, oh, somebody probably else has that question, right? Somebody in here has probably thought that at some point in their lives. So really trying to be supportive of each other. And I know you guys don't know each other that well, but like just trusting that everybody in here is like learning, right? And everybody in here has a valued opinion. Are there any, so Designed Alliance is kind of thinking about a way that we want to be together. Any other things that you guys can think of besides being like loving and caring? Things that help these kind of group settings work well? Thank you.
That's a good one.
That's beautiful. And actually, I think that's the first time I've ever heard that. So can we kind of trust that what goes on in here stays in here? Is that cool? Okay. That's really important. Thank you for bringing that up. Any others? So we're thinking like positivity, confidentiality. Are we cool with that? The only other thing I'm going to ask you, just from like teacher perspective, if you put cell phones on vibrate or whatever, are you even allowed cell phones here? Yeah. If you can just put them on vibrate, that'd be great. And then we really want to ask you to lean in. And what that means is I'm going to ask you real quick to sit up straight and sit on the edge of your chair. Go ahead and scooch towards the edge of your chair. Now try to lean forward as far as you can. It's not comfortable, right? Go ahead and sit back. It's really not comfortable. But what we want to ask you is that's kind of representing challenging yourself, right? Pushing yourself to be open, to ask questions that maybe in the past you were like, oh no, I've wondered, but I'm not going to ask this. So challenging yourself, pushing yourself to be open, to be curious, to be kind, to be loving, and to really support each other and work together to learn in this environment. So that's what we mean by when we say lean in, is really challenging yourself to do those kinds of things. Good Lord, I'm talking a lot. I'm going to stop soon, I promise. So we obviously really want to thank you for being here. We're going to get into some real talk about code words in just a second, and then we're going to get into some knowledge building. So like, what are some facts and what are some myths, and what's the difference between like things like that and blue waffle that goes streaming around. And from there, we're going to talk about how do we use that information for social change, and then what you guys can actually do. We're going to give you some like real quick, like, okay, these are a couple things that if you're down with this, and we're not saying everybody in here has to do this, but if you're down with this and you're really interested in it, these are some quick things that you can do. And some of this stuff is actually in your kits too, and the little packets that you got, some information's in there as well. Oh, we're gonna watch.
So right now we're gonna watch a 30-second video, and then we're gonna talk a little bit about it afterwards.
The boys know when you have your period.
Boys could always tell.
We would lose our virginity if we used a tampon.
I worried that I wasn't going to be considered a virgin anymore.
It was something that the elders passed down to us, and it wasn't just my mother, it was all the mothers.
I'm 23 years old and I'm still trying to balance out myth and fact.
It's 2013. Why do these myths still exist? With You by Kotex, you can break the cycle of misinformation. Get involved at GenerationKnow.com.
So what are some myths myths that you've heard? Some facts probably. What's some things that you've heard about your vagina? That if you use a tampon, you'll lose your virginity. What else? What else? I know there's more.
Or if you use a tampon, you've already lost your virginity.
Okay, that's a good one.
If you use a tampon, you've already lost your virginity.
Anybody over here?
No?
I know for me growing up, it was always like, you can't swim while you're on your cycle, which totally killed me. You guys have heard that, right? Totally killed me because I was on the swim team, and I was just like devastated.
Yeah, and for me, my mom told me if you put a cap full of vinegar and a cap full of bleach in your bath water, it'll keep your vagina clean and tight. Anybody hear that?
What else have you guys heard? Come on, we know you hear stuff.
I heard that if you're on your period, you can still get pregnant.
If you're on your period, you can still get pregnant. Okay,
That's
we're going
a
to talk
good one.
about this.
So basically, we're going to talk about myths, we're going to talk about facts, we're going to answer some questions that you guys have, because when you talk to your friends, or you Google things, or you talk to your grandma, Marissa, you talk to your grandma, you know, there still could be some misinformation out there, and we really want you guys to be informed, the most informed that you could possibly be at this time about your bodies.
So a lot of this kind of happens, right? All these myths kind of happen because we're kind of silenced. As women, we're taught that our bodies are kind of like, ew, don't talk about that, or oh, that's nasty, right? We're kind of taught that our bodies are something to be ashamed of. And this comes out in the way that we use language a lot. This comes out in the way we talk about the word vagina. How many of you go around using the word vagina?
We have one.
Okay. A couple? But usually do we use that word? What do we use instead? Okay. So what we're going to do?
What we're going to do right now, we're going to get into groups. How many people are in this room?
Let's say get into groups of 7.
7? Okay. 3 groups of 7. And you're going to write as many code words down as possible. You know, like cooch or coochie or whatever
and
you want to put down.
Anything.
Anything.
You're not going to get in trouble.
Anything.
Whatever you
Anything.
want to write down.
There is no, I mean, what happens in this room stays in this room, right?
So
And
you
we've
can
heard
write
it
as
all.
many words as possible on the paper, and we're going to share out later. You guys ready?
The one thing I would ask that you guys do before we share out is to put us, actually, I'm going to wait on that. I want you guys to brainstorm first. So there's 3 tables back there. Get into groups of around 7. We're going to give you about 5 minutes. We'll put some music on too.
All right, guys.
Have fun. to give thanks to Teacher Lee, who brought up something real important, and I think it fits in with what we're talking about. Yeah, right. My bad. Not used to this. We're talking about kind of the power of words, and Lee mentioned right now that I use the word "you guys," and that in itself, and so thankful that I'm here in San Francisco because this is a great conversation to have. That what does that imply when I use the word "you guys"?
Including girls and guys.
It includes girls and guys. Anybody want to add to that?
Just kind of for everybody.
It's for everybody. That's my bad. It's a male engendered kind of word, right? And so it's very diminishing to the fact that there's women or trans or whatever. We're vagina-bodied people in here, right? We may identify as different ways, but saying you guys is very like not empowering of the fact that there's other things out there. It's just assuming that it's men. So I really want to give thanks to Lee. And actually that was Alice Walker. You said that brought that up? Alice Walker, who's a really famous
writer,
author,
poet, womanist.
Feminist. Yeah.
feminist.
She's actually a womanist, not a feminist.
Well, we could have
Oh.
It's her argument, not mine.
I want to hear about that, but later. So we're going to talk a little bit more about the power of words, and Vanessa's really going to break down some of these code words for you.
So how was that activity? Was that fun? Yeah. What was fun about it? Did it feel freeing to be able to write those words? Yeah. We don't normally get to do that, right? We normally kind of have to be quiet when we say some of those words, right? So when you wrote down those words, I want us to stop and think for a second about some of the words that we feel like have good meanings and some of them that are used a little more negatively. So let's kind of focus on the positive first and think about some of the good ones, the ones that make us feel good about ourselves. So just raise your hand and let me know, are there any good words that you came up with, ones that make you feel good about yourself?
One was treasure box.
Treasure box. That's a good one. I like that a lot. I don't know if I've heard that one before. Does anybody else have one?
And we're going to ask you to raise your hand so that we can get the mic to you so that they can hear us across the nation.
Safety deposit.
Safety deposit. I like it. What else have we got? Come on, I know there's more than two.
Cupcake.
Cupcake. Nice. Everyone loves a cupcake, right? They're delicious.
One was love tunnel.
Love tunnel. All right, I've never heard that one either. You guys are coming up with unique ones.
We found a kitty.
Kitty? Yeah, that's a classic. I like that. Oh, I'm coming back over to you.
Cookie jar.
Cookie jar. All right, let's take one or two more. Does anybody else have any more, or does that feel like most of them?
In Spanish, a lot of boys call it panocha.
Oh, I like that. Oh, okay, let's get one more.
Punani.
Punani, yep, that's a a classic. The classics work. Okay, so those are some of the positive words. Now let's talk about some of the ones that make us feel badly, the negative ones. Does anyone have any negative ones that we wrote down?
Somebody brought up a real interesting, let's brainstorm all the ones from, rap songs, right? And
nice. All right, so who's got a negative one?
Kinky.
Yeah.
Kinky.
Kinky. All right, that's good. And I know some of these are hard to say, so I really appreciate you guys kind of breaking these barriers and starting to, leaning in and really starting to open up this dialogue, this conversation. Nope, it's all right. It's tough. It's tough to do. Does anybody else have a negative one that you feel like if someone were to say it to you about your body, it would maybe make you feel bad about yourself or
And maybe take a look at your papers, too.
Yeah, you don't have to come up for back.
Pussy. I do not like that word.
Pussy, yeah, right? We hear that all the time, right? Oh, we've got another one over here.
Easy A.
Easy A. Oh, yeah, another first. You guys are great. There's all these new ones. All right, let's take one more. All right.
Douche.
Douche, yeah. So I want us to stop and think for a second, right? So we came up with a lot of words, and we talked about a lot of words that are that make us feel good about our bodies and those that make us feel not as good about our bodies. Why? Why are some words good and why are other words negative? What's the difference between those terms? Does anyone know or have any thoughts?
I think by the way people say it to girls and the way they express it, it's what makes some words different and like difficult for girls to take in. Like, oh, did he really just say that about me?
Yeah, I think that's a huge part of it, right? The context around the words. It's the way that you say it, right? So if we said some of these negative words in a more positive way, would they feel like positive terms? Yeah. Does anyone else have any thoughts about why some words are positive or negative?
What about you? You said you didn't like the word pussy. Why?
People use it, like boys and girls use it too much, like as it's like just a word, a regular word you use every day almost. I hear it too much.
Yeah, so there's maybe too much dialogue you feel like around it, and maybe not positive. People aren't saying things like, oh, what a lovely pussy, right? Maybe they're saying things in a more negative way. So it's really how we talk about these words. If you look at kind of where a lot of these words came from, some of the more negative words actually came from originally a positive place, but they've become negative because we use them in a negative way. So one of the things that we can do is we can kind of reclaim these words. We can make these words our own words by using them in positive ways that make us feel better about ourselves and better about our bodies, right? Is there anything wrong with using these words? No. Do you prefer these words over vagina or vulva? No? You guys like using vagina? Yeah, it's mixed, and everyone feels really different about their body, right? Because everyone has a really different body, right? Great, guys. So, yeah, feel free to use whatever term feels comfortable for you when we talk today. Yep, you're fine.
So we want to kind of take this and like that knowledge that like it's okay to use these words in positive ways and things like that, and being real conscious of how these words affect everybody in here. But we want to start breaking down some myths. So we're going to get into some like real knowledge. Like let's actually like talk about some of the information that's out there and then break it down. Like, is this true or is this false? And the reason we want to do this is because the way we talk about our bodies is kind of directly related to how we value them. And if we can talk about them and appreciate them and love them and know about them, that represents the fact that we value our bodies, right? And want to use that to empower ourselves. Skip. We're gonna talk a little bit about, you guys have seen those pictures before? Okay, we're gonna talk about them a little bit. We're gonna go back and forth a little bit. So keep going. We're gonna get into some actual myths here, and we're gonna kind of tag team these.
So what we're gonna do here, we're gonna ask you a question, and if you think it's true, we want you to make some noise, right? If you think it's false, we want you to stay silent, okay? And then we're gonna try to do our best to, monitor the room and get honest feedback. And then we're gonna talk about each one a little bit, okay? So the first one, you wanna take, Vanessa?
I'll do it. If a girl uses a tampon, it's important to change the tampon every 4 to 8 hours. Make some noise if you think that's true. Beautiful. All right. Can you click? It is. It is. And the interesting thing about this, so you guys are all on point with that, we hear some really interesting things when we've been traveling all over the country. We've heard that, oh, no, I have to take out my tampon every time I use the bathroom, right? That's a real common misconception or myth that's out there, like every time you pee. So if you're like somebody with a small bladder and you use the restroom very commonly, then like that's a lot of tampon use. Technically, it's every 4 to 8 hours. And then it also depends. We encourage you to know your bodies. Like if you're one of those folks who has a really heavy cycle in the beginning, you know that you're going to have to change it 4 hours, maybe sooner, depending also on the kind of tampon that you have, right? But if you're in a part of your cycle that's real light and you can go 8 hours, then you can do that. It's just kind of knowing your body. How many of you have smartphones? Have you guys heard of the period tracker? Do you have it? Yeah, totally, right? Totally. It's great. And it's a free app. It's got a little pink flower, which is right. But it's you can basically enter mood swings, you can enter what you eat, you can enter symptoms, you can enter all that stuff on here, and it can kind of gauge where your cycle is going to be. Folks around your age, they might not always be so exact, right? I think Rena was saying, you want to tell the story about your...
We can tell it later. Don't
Okay.
we have one.
All right, we'll keep moving then.
Yeah.
We'll keep moving. And we're cool on that? 48 hours are good? Okay, cool.
All right, let's move to the next one. All right, ready? Remember, stomp your feet if you feel like it's false. Can guys, or...
True.
Sorry, Can guys tell when you are on your period? Silence.
Depending on who you are or who they are.
Can you say that again?
If they're your boyfriend, they've been around you, they know, like exact date or around this exact time.
Because they're tracking your cycle?
I don't know. They gotta.
They just gotta say it.
They just know.
It makes sense. It's like a period tracker sense, right?
It's a period tracker sense.
They got a
Some
period
people have
tracker
it.
in their brain.
So overall, no, right? The only way that most of the time people will know that you're on your period is how?
If you tell them.
If you tell them, right? I mean, that's a clear indication that you're on your period if you tell somebody you're on your period. But other than that, they don't know. Maybe some people react to their periods in different ways, and some people might suspect that you have your period, but no one really knows unless you tell them you're on your period.
Yeah, but I get it. I get what you're saying. Boyfriends may know. My boyfriend thinks he knows, but he does not always know. Because if he knew, he would be on his best behavior at all times. So the next one, can you get pregnant on your period? Wait, make some noise if you can get pregnant on your period. Okay.
Can you do me a favor? Make some noise if you think that's false. You can't.
Okay, so we have a mixed crowd. It's true. So you can get pregnant on your period. Does anybody who said true know why?
Yeah, let's take the mic over there real quick.
Okay. I said no because like I guess because it would be a little weird if you're like having sex while you're on your period. I guess so. That's why I was like no.
Yeah, so I guess that's a different issue, right? So sometimes people choose to have or not have sex because of when they're on their period.
Okay. Those of you who said yes, why did you say yes? Anybody want to share out who said yes? Emery?
Here.
Because when you're on your period, one egg is dead, so it's coming out, but there's another egg dropping. So then the next following week usually start ovulation like cycle, and that's when you can get That's when you get pregnant most likely is on your ovulation cycle.
That's a really good answer. That's critical thinking. So that's some good. You're learning a lot at this school about how to think about things. But the reason why you can get pregnant is because sperm lives in your body for 5 to 7 days, right, after you have sex. So if you're having unprotected sex, no matter where you are in your period, it could last until you're off your period, and it could, do what they do, swim, catch one of your eggs, and fertilize it, and implant it, and do all that good stuff that sperm is supposed to do when it's ready to do it. All right?
So you were definitely right on. We have more than one egg, and just because that one egg is being let go from our bodies, there's another one that can get fertilized. Exactly.
Yeah, you guys are. Yeah, you're good.
Yeah. Did you? How did you? Beautiful, beautiful. She's a good woman to have around. So is a douche the best way to clean your vagina? Make some noise if you think that's true.
We can tell you.
A douche. Anybody know what that is? A douche? Here, let me give you the mic real quick. You know what a douche is?
A douche means like it's a dirty pad, like and you ain't changed it. Something like that, yeah.
A douche is a dirty pad? Do you want to share?
It's like something that you use to clean your vagina.
Exactly. How many of you have heard of like Summer's Eve before? Yeah. It's a brand that's a douche, and it's a liquid that's used, you insert it into your vagina and cleans out. Or that's what it says. So, how many of you think that it would be good to use something like that? How many of you think it would be bad? Make some noise if you think it would be bad.
3.
You're exactly right.
She's a
You guys
good
are
kid.
totally right. So, our bodies are pretty magical, right? Humans have been around for a very long time without things like douche, right? And our bodies can pretty much take care of themselves. We have natural secretions that come out. We have fluids that clean out our bodies. So putting something up in there to clean it out, not necessary. It's a commercial that says, oh, women smell, so that's what we need to do. But in reality, no. Soap, water, on the outside, you're all good. Your body takes care of itself.
Yeah. Nope. Yeah, there's never a need to use anything internally, so inside of your vagina. We'll talk about the difference between the inside, the vagina, and the vulva in just a little bit. But yeah, fragrance-free. Your body's a magical place, yeah, and it cleans itself and takes care of it.
Yeah, and all that tropical breeze, it's not supposed to smell like tropical breeze. It's supposed to smell like vagina. So you're okay. You're fine. You have a question?
So why do people be calling other people like, oh, you're a douchebag, or like, you're a douche? Like, I don't get it.
Why do people think that is? Why do people think that they use the term douche in that way? Does anyone have any thoughts?
Why is the term douche negative? And
Did I hear an I know? Oh. Well, let's think about what we were talking about before, right? When we were talking about negative versus positive terms. Why do people use that term in a negative way?
Because it's look like it's like dirty, like you use a douche to, down there, and it's nasty and it's wrong, I guess.
Yeah, so that's great. Maybe it's the actual meaning of the word, and so they're really using that meaning of the word to relate to kind of a negative thing. But maybe it's the way that we use it, or maybe it's because it's related to vaginas, and people are trying to talk about vaginas in kind of a negative way. It's hard to know why people say things the way that they do and why they're positive and negative, but if we think about kind of the original meanings, it can help us kind of tease that apart and explore it and understand it. It's a really good question. Oh, do we want to go on to the next one? Yeah. All right. Can I swim while on my period? Was that supposed to be true? Are we stomping for true? All right, I'm all confused now. All right, so can anyone, stomp if you think it's false.
Well, they got the answer.
Oh. Stomp if you disagree with what we're about to tell you. Yeah, true. You can swim while on your period, right? Unless for some reason a medical doctor tells you not to, there's no reason why you shouldn't be able to swim or play football or do whatever you enjoy doing, whatever feels good for your body while you're on your period. Some people find that when they go in the water, it actually slows their cycle.
Like when you're in water, your cycle's like you stop.
Yeah.
Like the water tells your body to stop. Like
I heard this in like my health class freshman year that like when you even though if you wear a tampon and stuff, like when you go in water, your body like something tells your body like you're in water, and your body reacts to that as like a natural instinct.
Yeah, so it's actually the pressure from the water that'll keep the flow from kind of coming out. So you still have your period, you don't stop your period, but yeah, what you said is true and something that we hear a lot. So what will happen is just the pressure keeps kind of the blood from coming out as quickly. So if you decide not to wear a tampon while you're swimming, you may be okay and there may not be any menstrual blood within the water. However, when you get out of the water, what happens?
Hold up. Let's take a couple volunteers for what happens when you get out of the water.
Well, it's kind of like when you're in the shower and like you're on your period, like you don't see it coming down, but after like you hop out of the shower and you dry yourself up and like, then that's like a signal right there where your period just starts coming out down. So
Yeah, and that may be okay with you. It depends on how you feel. yeah, does anybody else have anything to say about what happens when you come out of the water?
And it depends, like, different people's bodies react differently, too, right? Like, for me, I actually do see some stuff when I'm in the shower, you know, and I'm like, oh, okay. But everybody's body is, I know, right? Everybody's body is different.
Yeah, and it's mostly when you're in a pool. So, like, when you're in a body of water, that there will be a change. But, yeah, use a tampon if you feel comfortable using a tampon, or don't if you don't. But, yeah, whatever your body feels comfortable with.
All right. Green, yellow, or brown discharge is a sign that I should see a healthcare provider. All right, why is that true? Who wants to? Why is that true? Wait,
I'm coming over there.
Cause like, I ain't never seen or heard of that before. I ain't never heard of green or brown before.
Okay.
Or yellow. Or pink or anything.
And we're probably not talking fluorescent or anything, but yeah, no.
So I'm anemic, so I sometimes see brown blood and stuff. So I have to go to my healthcare provider, and it said it's just the old blood that was in there. So yeah, I do see that. So I guess yeah, that's it.
Okay. All right. Anybody else?
Well, if you're seeing green and yellow and brown and you're not anemic, then you should go check it out because it's supposed to be white or clear, if anything. And usually if you're seeing green or yellow, that means you usually have a STD or something going on wrong in there, an infection.
Okay.
I've never heard of like green or brown, but definitely yellow and white. Like I read in a magazine that like it's just your body like cleaning down there.
Okay.
So it's normal and you don't have to see a healthcare provider. So I'm saying it's false.
Oh, you're saying it's false. Yeah. Okay, that's a good one. So, what? Our special clicker behind the poster. Could you click? So the answer is true, and it's good to know your body. Like she said, she's anemic. For me, I'm not anemic, but I'm a panty sniffer. Anybody know what a panty sniffer is? I sniff my panties. I do. Every time, all the time. After I use, yes.
She really does.
It doesn't matter. I sniff it. When I use the bathroom, I look, I sniff. When I take them off, I look, I sniff. I sniff because you have to know how you smell. You have to know if there's something going on. You know what I mean? So you can always detect something wrong with your body by the smell and by the texture, by the look of it. And I know that about my body. So I'm encouraging you guys. You guys don't have to sniff your panties. But I'm encouraging you guys to know your bodies well enough to detect if something is wrong. Okay?
Right? So you know your body, and you know that, like, it's naturally sometimes you'll have a little bit of brown discharge, and it's a little bit of the blood, right? But you'd also know if it was something else,
If
too,
it was
because
green,
you know your body really well.
The best indicator that something's wrong is if, it's different for your body than what it typically is. And it's not always necessarily the color, it's the way it feels. So if it starts to feel like itchy or burning sensations, then that's a good sign that you should go and see your healthcare provider and ask whether there's something going on. So really just pay attention to your body and don't be afraid to look or to sniff. To see kind of what's normal for you, because knowing what's normal for you is going to help you understand what's not normal and if there maybe is an issue down the road.
Yes.
So what's a UTI? That's a urinary tract infection. What is that?
It's a urinary tract infection. I don't know what.
Like, what is it? What does that mean?
It's
you before science teacher.
So your urinary tract is where your urine comes out of, right? And you can get an infection in there. It's just like the way you can get an infection in a cut or anything like that. You can get an infection in there. A lot of times, folks will get infections in their urinary tract infection when you're having sex and you don't urinate afterwards. That's a common way to get a urinary tract infection. Some people are just prone to them naturally. Like my sister gets them all the time, and she had to completely like change her diet and her way of life so that she just didn't get them. And it wasn't because she was having a lot of sex. It was just the way her body is. Right?
It's not necessary. I don't think of it as necessarily a sexually
It's
transmitted
not.
infection. People get
It's
it for
not.
all different,
All
different reasons. And don't be scared if it happens. You can clear it up. It'll be all right.
Definitely one thing that you just know your body, go see a doctor. Does that help?
Does that answer your question? Oh yeah. Okay. Good.
Yeah. Yeah. It's, you'll know by a burning sensation.
Yeah, definitely burning.
You had something you wanted to say.
Question. So, like, symptoms with itching and burning, like, I know those are symptoms for, like, yeast infection. Like, how do you even get a yeast infection? Does it just come naturally, or?
It's a really good question. You can get them from lots of different ways. It's not considered a sexually transmitted infection. It can be for lots of.
Public pools, or if your jeans too tight, it's usually an offset in pH. So, just change up in diet, anything. It's just where it collects more yeast, and it's easy to clean up.
And correct me if I'm wrong, but yogurt is something that's good to eat?
Yes.
Is that, well, I'm asking Vanessa.
Yeah, I mean, I think that
and
some
she's-
people believe that that's true. Other people think that maybe it's not as much. But, it definitely wouldn't hurt to eat yogurt unless you hate yogurt or you're allergic to it, in which case it would hurt to eat it. But one thing to be careful of is with people have a yeast infection. That's we just assume it's a yeast infection because we hear a lot about yeast infections on commercials, right? Have you guys seen those commercials? Sometimes, most of the time, it is a yeast infection, and you can clear it up with something over the counter. Sometimes it's not. Sometimes it's something called maybe bacterial vaginosis, which is something that you should go to your healthcare provider, and they'll help you treat. So it's always good to just stay in touch with your healthcare provider about what's happening with your body if something feels like it's not right for you. And so they can help you figure out what it is and treat it.
Yeah, for sure. For sure. So we want to take a second and kind of transition into like how we take care of our bodies, right? Because there is all this stuff that's out there that we don't necessarily. There's more? Ooh, my bad. Never mind. We're not transitioning yet. Make some noise if you guys think this is true. All girls and women get a period every 28 days. Make some noise if you think it's false. Yeah. Yeah, you guys would be totally correct. Not every single person in here is 28 days. Some folks are 30, some folks are 25. Everybody's body is different. And that's why, like, for me, I like to use that period tracker so that I know, like, pretty well for myself when I can expect my cycle to come. The thing is, around your age, your body's still trying to figure itself out. And for Rena...
Yeah, for me, I started my period when I was in the 5th grade, but the year after that, I joined the track team, and it stopped until I stopped running track, basically, which is, I don't run track anymore, so it comes pretty regularly. But it was about 5 to 7 years, I didn't have a period at all. So I didn't get an athlete's period. I didn't get no period, just none, none at all.
Questions?
Right. Oh, like don't when you get your period, like you're like getting rid of your old eggs? So what? You just didn't have a period, and I didn't have a healthcare provider, so I can't tell you the right answer. So I don't know if it was bad or not, but I'm still alive.
It's very common with athletes to stop having their cycle. A lot of times their body is in they're using their body so much that they need to support other functions in their body, and that one doesn't function.
So I didn't have a period. I didn't have breast, which we all see that's a little different now, right? Got double D's. No, but everything stopped for a really long time for me.
But I love that you brought in knowledge that you have about women and what happens when they get their period and asked a really important question. And just to give another answer to that, it's not, for most women, medically necessary to have their period. So sometimes on different types of birth control, you can kind of skip over your period. I'm sure you guys have seen the commercials for those, maybe. But for a lot of women, they like having their period. And we'll talk a little bit about the nice things about it a little bit later.
All right. In a typical period, 4 to 8 tablespoons of blood pass through the vagina. Is that true or false? True. Okay, how many people say it's false? Raise your hand. Well, just the typical period. If when you're on your period, is it more than 4 to 8? Is it less than 4 to 8, or is it about 4 to 8 tablespoons? I like how you guys are really thinking about this before answering. You guys like, I'm not gonna give her an answer So, how many people say it's different for most people? Let's say that. That's a lot. That's the answer I heard. Okay.
You guys get great education here, knowing that everyone's body's different.
So it is true. It's probably different for most women, but it doesn't vary outside of the range between 4 to 8 tablespoons of blood.
Yeah, because for me at least, like when I have, when I have my period, like I ovulate 2 eggs, so I'm like more susceptible to having twins. So like, yeah, but for me, like, so like my periods are really heavy and they last like a week and a half. So like it's different. It's really different for everyone.
Mm-hmm. For sure.
Okay. I mean,
it's a genetic thing, or? Yeah. Do you have a lot of twins in your family?
No, it's just me.
Just you? That's
You guys
cool.
are so informed about your bodies.
I
It's
love
really,
it.
it's so nice to hear.
You said you had a question?
Yeah, you said that you ovulate how many eggs?
2, just 2.
How do you know that when you ovulate a whole egg? Like, what does that mean?
Oh, well, I like went to my doctor because my period was like horrible for like a really long time. Like mine was like really heavy and stuff. So I like went to my doctor and talked to them, and they like they like found out this was why.
So you give, how many eggs can you?
Oh, I don't know.
At once.
I have no idea. Yeah, it's different.
It's great. Yeah, you're in touch with your healthcare professional, right? And so you're talking to them and finding out what's going on with your body. So let's transition
can
on
I
into.
add that we obviously don't have all the answers, and You by Kotex has a really great website where you can go to and you can type in these questions, and they have medical professionals that will answer you. They also have, when you type in a question, you'll get an answer from 3 different people, and you'll get an answer from a medical professional. You'll get an answer from like a mother type figure personality, and you'll get an answer from another person who's your age. So those kind of questions that we don't have answers to, you can and that website is in your little packet that you have in your action kit. So it's a really great resource.
Particularly for those people who are at home
Yes, exactly.
or at school who are on the web, that's a great place. If you can't be here to ask us, you can go right to the Generation No website and ask there and get really informed, great information.
Cool.
So let's go on through the last myth here. Once a girl or woman has a tampon in, she can't pee. Stomp your feet if it's false. Oh, that's a light stomp though. Stomp your feet if it's true. Well, you just heard everyone stomping because they thought it was false, right? It is actually false. So here is, what is this? A vagina, a vulva. I call it a vulva puppet. Yeah, a puppet. And these are the different components of a vulva. So I like to use this puppet because I think it's kind of an easy way to show people the different components of the vulva. So what are these kind of purple velvet outside parts right here? Yeah, the outer lips, the outer labia. Some people call it the labia majora. It's the part that's skin colored. Thank you. Oh, that may have some hair on it if you choose not to modify your hair. So those are the outer lips. Then what are these? Yeah, the inner lips, the labia minora. Do they look the same for all women? No, right? Just like our nose looks different from one another, our ears, our mouth, so do our inner labia. They're different for all different women. For some women, they may be symmetrical. For other women, they may be asymmetrical. For some, they're pink. For others, they're purple. For some, they're brown. Some are shaded like a sunset, so they may have different colors on them. But it's important to remember, some are longer, some are shorter. Sometimes they may be inside the outer labia, sometimes they're outside. What's important to remember is that just like any other body part, they come in all shapes and sizes, and all of them are really wonderful and beautiful. And artists sometimes compare them to seashells or to flowers. So if you can think of them in that way, I think that it's been really powerful for girls that I've talked to. So that's the inner labia. What's this? Clitoral hood, right? Oh, no, not quite. It just covers the clitoris. So this is the clitoris here. So everyone's vulva looks a little different, so yours may not look like this. In fact, I imagine few of your vulvas are actually velvet and purple. So your vulva probably doesn't look exactly like this. Roses in it? Yeah, a few of you probably have roses in your vulva. But yeah, this is the clitoral hood, so it covers the clitoris. For some women, it's larger than for others. For some, it'll entirely cover your clitoris. For other women, it does not. This right here is the clit. If you lift up the clitoral hood, you'll see it. For some women, you just may naturally see it. And then inside, you have how many holes? Oh, I heard some debate. How many holes total? Stump if you think 2.
Make some noise if you think 2.
So that's good. That's a good clarification point.
Make some noise if you think 3.
So, yep. So I guess, so you guys are being specific. So, right, so if the anus is a 3rd hole, right? But your vagina and your urethra are different, right? And so that's why you don't have to take your tampon out every time you pee, because you don't pee out of your vagina, right? So you can leave your tampon in when you're going to the bathroom and just change it when you start to feel uncomfortable or ready to have your tampon changed.
We had a great question right here.
Oh, sure. The urethra is probably, for some women, it's just a dot. For other women, it's a little bit bigger. And then the vagina's normally that right here.
So, but wouldn't your tampon get wet if you want to pee?
So would it get on the string? Is that what you mean?
Yeah.
So, yeah. So some women, so you may want to figure out how that works best for you. Maybe tuck it or move it to the side. For some women, it depends on where your urethra is. So for all women, their anatomy is really different. For some, it may be really close to your vagina. For other women, it may be there may be a farther distance. So if it's really close for you, you may just want to move the string to the side, no big deal. But if it's really farther away, that might not be an issue. So everyone's vulva looks really different, and so everyone's going to have different challenges. Yeah.
So would your pee be, your liquid be red, or would it just be natural, the natural pee?
When you're peeing, will it be red? It won't be red because it's not actually going through the vagina, right? So if you're not wearing a tampon, and if you are bleeding and you go to wipe, you may see some red, right? But that's coming from your vagina, not your urethra. That's a really good question. I love how thoughtful you guys are. These are really detailed questions. They're great. No, they're good.
Do we have more questions?
What does that hood do?
That's a great question.
What does it do?
That is a really good question. So, different parts of our bodies some have more functions than others. This one really just protects your clitoris, right? Your clitoris is very sensitive. So what it does is it protects it so that you're not constantly rubbing it against your jeans or something, right? Because that could be fun, but could be awkward. So it just covers your clit. So for and for women, it's different sizes. So if you explore, you may be able to see your clitoral hood versus your clit, which is a little bit smaller.
Can we have this cool puzzle here that you can kind of play around with back there, but we were thinking it might be nice to take like a minute or two break. And I wanted to give you guys an option of like doing some yoga stretches if you're interested in it, or just kind of getting up and walking around if you're interested in that. What would you guys rather do? You guys want like 2 minutes to kick it for a second and stretch and do whatever? If you want to play with these puzzles, we'll have them on the back tables right there, okay?
Break.
want you to take a minute or two to kind of brainstorm with some folks around you what some of the challenging things about having your cycle are. So brainstorm with folks around you. Try to think of as many as you can. And they're different for everybody.
Go.
Yeah, right here. Oh.
Teach me how to Dougie. Teach me how. You know how Dougie?
Don't shame me.
I need to get your email.
Yeah.
I'll send you a graduation.
All right, could we maybe get a couple volunteers to share out in just a second? We got one volunteer, we got two volunteers. You can, it's up to you. I got another volunteer. You guys, this whole side is like, volunteer. I know, I'm saying. I'm gonna start with this side, but then we're definitely gonna hit that side up too. Are we about ready? The question was just sharing out some of the things that are really challenging about having your cycle. So I know I had like 4 people from here, and then we're gonna get to this side too. We got some too? Okay, beautiful. Bianca.
I know that, well, I don't know for everybody else, but when I'm on my period, I feel bloated and nauseous and dizzy, and I don't want to eat or anything. It's just nasty to me.
Beautiful. So bloated, nauseous, dizzy. Cool.
Like you get a lot of cramping.
A lot of cramping, definitely. That's definitely something that a lot of people
What
deal
we
with.
said was like sometimes you don't know when it's coming.
The mystery periods, right? You're just like, oh, really?
Take one from over
Okay.
here.
We had 2, and then we'll come over there. Yeah, let's do this.
I say that usually the first day of your period is the worst because you have like the cramps and that is like the most painful, and you definitely need food that day. You need to eat all day.
Yeah, so for you, your body definitely needs nourishment, and then dealing with the cramps is really challenging. We'll do one more from this side and then head over to this side.
Mood swings.
Mood swings. Like, kind of anxious or real quick temper. I know I get really sad easily.
All right, one over here.
Well, for me, because I don't know how the flow is, usually like it stains, and then like the stains are hard to take out, and it's like stressful, I guess.
Laundry issues.
Uh-huh.
You got
question, no problem.
Cramps, it runs in my family, like they're really bad.
Yeah.
Really bad.
Can you repeat that? I didn't hear it.
Yeah, cramps. If when they're really bad, they're really bad, right? Yeah. Did you have one? Nope. Okay. No
So
pressure.
we had a question from Pam, who I'm not sure what part of the country Pam is in, but I'm really grateful that Pam asked this question. Why do we feel so mean and cranky on our periods? And it's not everybody, right? Everybody's symptoms are different. You wanna tackle that? All right.
I was gonna say, cause like you're in pain, so when you're in pain and it's hard to like get rid of the pain, you take your anger out on others around you.
Yeah, it's a good answer.
Definitely. So the pain kind of affects your mood?
I think because during that time of the month, your hormones are like off balance.
Yeah. Yeah, and I think between the two of you, I mean, that would be my kind of opinion. Between the pain and between the hormones, that's a lot to deal with. And it's a lot to deal with on the regular. So knowing yourself really well, like for me, after years and years and years, I can finally be like, okay, I'm feeling really cheesy. It's because I'm about to start. Let me check myself. The world isn't about to end. This movie isn't going to make me cry forever. You know, but I know myself well enough that now I can say, oh, it's because I'm about to start. But yeah, there's a lot of stuff we got to deal with. There is. And it's a lot of hormones, and at times it's a lot of cramps and pain for sure. Thank you, Pam, wherever you are. I don't know where you are. Can we take a second? So we had a lot of things. We had like cramps, we had bloating, we had fatigue and hunger. Can we talk about like how do we deal with this? Because this is something that for the most part we're going to be living with for a long time, right? So we obviously want to figure out how do we take care of ourselves? What do we do? What do we do to take care of ourselves?
Take some Aleve.
Aleve,
and,
right?
And for food, you better have some crackers or something with you at all times.
Come prepared.
Yep.
Right? No, like definitely know yourself so that okay, when you're starting, water. Yes, thank you.
Chocolate. At least for me, it's chocolate.
Chocolate. Okay, we're gonna talk about that.
I like to sleep. And
Sleep.
Relax.
Sleep.
Oh yes.
Yay.
Take a hot shower.
Hot showers. Yes. Give thanks for hot water. Any other ways?
Anybody over here?
A heating pad. You have to have your heating pad when you go to sleep.
Do you guys know what a heating pad is? Yeah, right? My mama gave those to me. Those things up there, you fill them with hot water. Or, like my mom has a little thing of beans that she puts in the microwave, and then, yeah.
Say that one more time. I'm just gonna tell y'all the story. Okay, my cousin she used heating pads for her period and stuff, but then, now she just got you can see the outline of the heating pad. It's it looked nasty and stuff after all the time that she used it and stuff.
I would say to that, I mean, obviously, like we keep saying, everybody's body is different, but if you notice something like that happening, try to figure out another way to deal with it, maybe if you're not, happy with that, you know?
When I'm on my period, it's really hard to start exercising, but after I start exercising, I feel really good. Like when you get home and you take a shower after at the gym, and you're on your period, you feel the endorphins or something make you feel a lot better.
For reals, and it's such a opposite of what you just said, which was chocolate, right? So if we move on to the next slide, some of the things that are really great are exercising. Really what you want to do is curl up in a ball and go home, right? And crawl into bed. But you'll keep cramping. Even though you're in bed, you'll keep cramping or you'll keep being bloated. That exercise gets the blood circulating in your body so that eventually those cramps and that pain will go away. That bloating will go down. All of that stuff.
You have more, yeah.
When you start feeling cramp, when you get your cramp, you go to the store and you buy this sort of pill that makes your cramps go away. It's like a Midol stuff.
Totally. Midol is another one that can, if you choose to take medicine, you can definitely, Midol and Aleve are some of the most popular. For me, I have really been focusing on my diet and changing my diet to affect my cycle. And I was telling Rena, I'm doing a cleanse right now where I'm not eating meat, I'm not eating dairy. It's pretty much just all vegetables, no pasta, just brown rice. I know. Believe me, I'm on day 18 and I'm struggling. But I started yesterday and it was just out of the blue. I had no clue, no symptoms, no nothing. Which for me, who's usually curled up in a ball and oh my God, it's amazing. I was just really? What? The food that I'm eating, I'm not eating any sugar, no chocolate, only fruit. It's a struggle, but I'm here today with no pain, no medicine, no nothing, which is pretty amazing that just the food that we eat can kind of heal ourselves, So I encourage you to kind of maybe try that at some point. Try seeing how what you eat affects your body as well. Some other stuff to stay away from.
So things to stay away from would probably be the chocolates. Although it makes us feel emotionally good. And, I'm one of those people that say, yes, you want to feel good physically, but you also want to feel good emotionally. So chocolate might be more for the emotional, but not for the physical, okay? So caffeine, stay away from caffeine. Stay away from a lot of
salty,
salts.
fried.
Yeah, refined sugars. And
isn't caffeine in Midol?
That's a good question.
Yeah,
I
believe
is.
there is. And so, yeah. And so it's one of those things, and I'm not sure if you, it's one of those things where it might feel good for a little bit. Exactly.
Yeah.
Exactly. We got a question right there too, but you had a comment?
Oh, I was just going to say, I think the reason that they recommend not drinking coffee is because it dehydrates you. So it's not necessarily just the caffeine, but there's other components.
Yeah.
But again, it's all about knowing what feels good for you and good for your body and kind of figuring that out, trial and error.
My auntie told me that when you're on your period, you should eat a lot of fish and stuff like that for iron.
That looks like the next picture.
Yeah, so you can eat fish and like nuts and like soy, stuff like that. I'm not sure, you said fried fish? I'm not so sure about like fried foods though. I think we're supposed to stay away from fried foods.
It's the salt.
Yeah,
If
the
it
salt,
feels
that's
good
in it.
for you, yeah, so it's about figuring it out, but and what works.
We have some questions from out in the worldwide internets that I'm going to ask you guys to help me with as well. And like this one's like a real kind of a personal opinion thing, so I would love to hear what you guys think, and then we'll chime in too. So this one is from somebody out in the World Wide Web. Do boys care if your vagina is hairy? And why do we have hair on our vagina?
Well, for the first one,
do you want to, yeah?
I only have a personal opinion. I don't know. I don't think any boy is going to walk away if your vagina is hairy. It's just not in them. Yeah, I don't think they're gonna be like, oh, never mind. No, I don't think that's gonna happen. But they may say their preference, which it's all about you and what you want to do with your body.
Yeah, it's that personal, right? It's your body.
I second on that. It has not happened to me, but I definitely know some females who've definitely had like that experience where it could be just a person, she's like a one-night stand or maybe a potential boyfriend, and all of a sudden they see like a lot of hair, like they could be like grossed out or freaked out, and people have like been rude and turned off and been real rude to people and said some nasty things sometimes, which
Because they like to see what they're dealing with.
And that's not good, of course.
So what's your advice to those ladies? Could I ask you?
You could shave, but you do what's right and comfortable to your own body. You feel me? Like, I don't shave because I don't think that's a good thing. I'm not gonna shave for someone. Like, it's my body. I don't care. Like, you gotta accept who you are. So you feel me? So that's all. They should.
I'd like to applaud that.
Yeah,
that was
hey. It's your body. Do you? And if you want to, you can. And if you don't, you don't have to. And then this was real cool. Yeah, we're gonna hurry through these real quick. Why do we have hair on our vagina?
So, well, first I want to address the first one. I've actually done research on that.
She's the expert.
I'm coming to the front. And what we found is that men and boys tend to feel more positive about women's vaginas than we do ourselves. Sometimes we're really critical of our bodies in ways that men and boys are not. They feel like they're beautiful, and they like all different types of pubic hairstyles. So just like for some of us, we like a more natural look, and some of us like a more shaved look. Same with boys and men. There's a lot of range out there.
Well, I kind of disagree. Oh, sorry. I kind of like disagreed with it because like I felt that guys would want like a shaved vagina, because like oral sex. You know what I mean? Like they wouldn't want to put their mouth on like hella hair.
But some really like hair, right? So it depends on everyone's preference. So that's true for some, but others really find it very sexy and the look of a woman as she matures and likes the pubic hair.
It's definitely a personal
preference.
Another question, and I think this is a great question. I am going to preface this with I'm not an STD expert, so that website, again, is a really great place to get information. But this question says, can you get STDs having sex in the pool? And I'm going to say, like, my personal answer and my personal belief is if you are having unprotected sex, you are at risk of getting STDs.
No matter where it is.
The answer is yes. If there's skin-to-skin contact, then you are potentially, then you need to be cautious and careful and think about the potential risk for STI transmission. So it's just, no matter where you are, it's just always good to keep that in mind.
For sure. This is another great question. Can birth control be a risk for your child when you want to conceive? And I'm going to assume that means for the child that you're trying to conceive, not that this was a mother calling in. So I think what it's saying, and there's multiple forms of birth control, right? In the past, there was some birth control that was very risky to the babies that were in the womb, the IUDs and things like that. But those were in the 1980s. I think
Still
now
IUDs are a little different than they used to be. They're smaller.
Yeah, so I think now the risk of birth control, especially pills, affecting the child that you're going to have is non-existent. And I'm going to say again, not an expert on this.
The morning after pill.
You want to talk on that? Because I don't know.
You can keep going.
Okay. Again, just if this isn't an answer that you're satisfied with, go on the website. And we're going to have to wrap up the questions because we want to keep moving. And we want to talk a little bit about this knowledge that you guys have gained here and how you can use this knowledge to create change in your families or in your community. So we're going to move on to a real quick social change is kind of talking about what's the root of this problem? Why is it that women's bodies are so silenced? And then how do we really go out in our communities? And we're going to watch a real quick 2-minute video that talks about different folks who have really taken this issue and championed this issue in their community. So it's just giving you some ideas. And again, this website also has a list of things that if you're interested in this, you can go out and talk about this.
If you go camping when you're on your period, you will probably be mauled by a bear because it can smell your blood. No, it can't.
My vagina does not need to be sanitized just because I'm on my period.
So it seems to me like this is a taboo subject. Vaginas? Taboo? No bueno.
You still have these douche commercials on TV acting like, have you plucked your eyebrows, brushed your teeth, and douched your vagina? Now you're good to go.
4 girls, starting a movement to get the truth about vaginas.
I can honestly not remember a single lesson that said, hey, here's a vagina, and this is what it looks like. These are the different parts of it.
My God, is that what it looks like?
What about, like, smell or anything? They talk about that?
You hear girls complain. Girls are like, oh my God, what do I do? My vagina has a smell, and I'm like, I don't know.
You whispered it to your girlfriends, and you didn't want the boys to know.
When I first got my period, my mom was like, here, take this. Right. Take your tampon and you like hot shove it into your clothes and you really hide it to go to the bathroom.
That if you do use the tampons, though, they can get lost. We were afraid of them. You would lose them in your vagina.
I'm 23 years old and I'm still trying to balance out myth and fact at this point.
Even if you Google it, it's like all this pornographic stuff that comes up. I'm not looking for porn. I'm just looking to see, like, what should I do? Because my vagina feels this way today.
I want people to really be media literate and to take the time out to really question things and not just take it for what it is.
It's time to change things so that girls don't have so many unanswered questions.
Now you're gonna go to your friend and you're gonna go to your friend and we're gonna start this huge conversation about our bodies and our periods and it's gonna be okay.
It's gonna happen. We're doing it.
And you can too. Break the silence, bust the myths, change the message, and spread the word. With You by Kotex, you can make a difference. Get involved at GenerationNo.com.
All right, we promised not that long, right? That was a pretty short video. So we're hoping that some of the information that you had today makes you feel empowered and excited to start these conversations around vaginas. If you do feel excited and do want to create change, both for people in the room and people who are watching on the web, there's lots of ways to do it. And I know we keep referring to that website, GenerationNo.com, but it's because you get good information there, and there's lots of social change projects there. So you can do things like write a letter to your little sister, or you can bust a myth. You can do lots of different things on that website. I've done, and these are some of the examples, it went by quickly, of different types of projects that you can be engaged in. Talking about some of the things that I've done to create social change around talking about the vaginas. One time, and this is kind of a bigger project, I dressed up like a giant vagina, or at least as giant as I can be. I'm not terribly big. But I dressed up like a vagina, and I walked down the street and with my friend and colleague, and we interviewed people, and we got that conversation started. We said, what do I look like? And we started talking about it. Right? So it's just creating those dialogues. You guys may not want to put together a vagina costume, but you may want to start that dialogue in a different way. So other smaller things that I do is I monitor the internet. And when I see people shaming women and shaming women's bodies and shaming their vaginas, I try to speak up when I can. I try to say, no, vulvas are beautiful, or they smell wonderful, or whatever the message it is. I try to have a positive message back, right? Because so many people learn about their bodies from those discussion forums, reading through those comments. So if you can be that positive voice, you can create that change. It only takes a few seconds, but it can be very meaningful for girls who come across those messages later. And I'm actually here as an advocate for Generation No. And through there, we kind of have a shared voice. So you don't have to feel like you're on your own. You're just this person who just loves vaginas all by yourself. You're in a group of girls who are all have these kind of positive messages. And so being part of Generation No gives you that community of women. So go online, look at it, sign up if you want to, and then you can have kind of that shared voice with other women.
And just real quick, out of curiosity, how many of you feel like you learned some valuable information today? How many of you feel like, I mean, you guys seem very well educated on this stuff. You had health class. Apparently you have a really amazing health teacher at this school. Yeah. And it's great to have this in high school, but how many of you think your little nieces and your little sisters would really benefit from having this information even before they get to high school? Anybody down to share this with their families? For sure, right? Like, that in itself is an act of social change. So we just really wanted to thank you for being here, for leaning in, for asking those questions, for really being bold and open and kind and loving. And we want to give you guys a round of applause and then give everybody a round of applause. So if we could, thank you guys so much. And we have, we have bracelets for you. We have really cute little bracelets. The action kits have lots of information. We have food for you. Yeah.
And wearing that bracelet is creating social change too. It's saying, I know.
That'd be dope. That'd be hella dope.
And we're still
They're like
around,
this.
So
And then they say, they're cute, right?
About anything. It doesn't have to be about this. It could be
Do we have more
anything
that I can
we're
pass out?
involved in. Then you guys can do that as well.
Thank you guys.